thank you everybody for arriving tonight. I'm really excited and very honored to have Tanya Bothma, who's joining us, and I got to hear about Tanya's story through Terry, who's also been on Conversations. Terry had an amazing sharing. And Tanya's story is just remarkable. We chatted earlier on today. So Tanya's story, she'll share with you. She's had a double lung transplant. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's
and
right.
The first in South Africa.
The first in Africa.
First in Africa, which is
in a state hospital.
And we were chatting today, and what is so amazing about we didn't plan this. I mean, I don't think Tanya knew, and I certainly didn't know, but August is organ donor month. So this seems really appropriate that Tanya has joined us in the kitchen tonight. So thank you so much for coming, Tanya.
It's a big pleasure. Thank you for having me, Elaine.
I'm going to quickly mute everybody. It might mute you, so just unmute yourself, Tanya, and then we can get cracking.
Okay, is everybody ready?
Yep.
The paradox of life. I am alive today because of someone else's death. My miracle is somebody else's heartbreak. I'm standing here today because somebody else's tragedy became my miracle. My family get to spend another day with me, while their family mourn another day without them. The paradox of organ donation, a gift to one, yet tremendous pain to another. I never had 3 weddings and a funeral. I had 3 miracles and a funeral. I was born 4 weeks premature, and suffered a number of childhood respiratory problems, including meconium aspiration as a neonate. This happens when a baby is distressed and they aspirate amniotic fluid into their lungs. Eventually, after multiple severe viral infections, I was left with chronic lung disease. I was later diagnosed with bronchiolitis obliterans and could not be reversed by medication. I was never able to take part in any sports or activities at school, and Panorama Hospital became my second home. I was under the care of Dr. Jan Vermeulen, a pediatrician, who very quickly became a part to me. My school journey, all I ever did was play catch-up. All I ever did was catch up with homework. That was my life. And when I was lucky enough to attend school, I would go to school with a nebulizer. A nebulizer is a medical equipment. It consists of a compressor, a pipe, a mask, and a little medication cup that's screwed onto the mask. You take your medication liquid and you pour it into this cup, screw it back onto the mask, cover your face, and you inhale a very fine mist. I had this amazing friend, Mandy, that would always come and nebulize with me. We would go down to the secretary's office, sit on the floor, and have a lacquer chat for about 20 minutes until I was able to breathe a little easier. I had this kind of wuchel, a wheezing sound, 24/7. And I was teased and told I sounded like Darth Vader. At the age of 12 or 13, I suffered a bad attack and was unconscious for 3.5 hours and was rushed through to Tygerberg Hospital. My parents decided that homeschooling would be a better option for me. I always wanted to go and study psychology. So my mom and I in Senate 9 applied to a few universities. Unfortunately, 20 years back, homeschooling wasn't even considered an option. My parents decided to send me to Hoffman House to finish my matric year, which I did. And I reapplied for that psychology. And Stellenbosch actually accepted me. But my health got the better of me. That saying, all a child needs is love, is so true. My parents played a huge role in my life, my siblings' life. I was never treated any differently. We were all treated exactly the same way. My parents left no stone unturned when it came to my illness. My mom, being a nursing sister, taught me how to cope with my illness, what to do and what not to do. If I was sick, I would have to go to school. And she'd say to me, Tans, if you're not feeling well, phone me and you can come home. I used to try every day and stay till about 12 o'clock. I'd phone her and she'd look at me and say, but Tans, you look fine. Let's try this tomorrow again. Needless to say, I would much rather go to my dad when I was ill than my mom. But she knew she had to be tough because the real world out there would not treat me any differently just because I had an illness. And she would always tell me, Tanya, don't let your illness define you as a person. My parents really did everything for me, and I will always be forever grateful. At some point, I was more in hospital than at home. And my mom at that stage worked in the labor ward of Panorama. They decided that if she transferred to the pediatric side, she could spend more time with me. And that's exactly what she did. My dad would come and visit me every evening with my brother and sister. And we'd all sit at the end of the bed playing games or talking. And when that bell rang for visiting hours to be over, and I used to really dislike that bell, they would get up and go. My mom would go and fetch her things, and my dad would gather my brother and sister, and they'd all leave together. I would go and stand at my little window in the ward, waving goodbye with tears pouring down my eyes. I was probably about 6 when I was taught I had to stay alone in hospital. As I said, I never had 3 weddings and a funeral. I had 3 miracles. Miracle number 1, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would ever find a man. That saying, al kapot, dexel, is so true. I would tell my psychologist on numerous occasions, what man is going to look at me breathing the way I did? As I said, I was always catching up with homework. And one Friday afternoon, I went to a friend's house to get Afrikaans homework. My dad and I drove into this driveway, and there on the balcony stood this tall, dark, and handsome guy. I looked at Ilka, my friend, and I said, Ilks, you never told me you had a brother. She looked at me and said, Tans, he's not my brother. He's my cousin. The very next day, Skalk phoned me on a date. I rushed to my parents and told them that this guy had actually asked me out on a date. He didn't look at my breathing. He didn't even notice my breathing. He actually noticed me. Skalk and I got married in 2002, and we have been through thick and thin together. At that stage, I was under the care of Dr. John O'Brien at Christian Barnard. Miracle number 2 was the birth of our beautiful baby girl, Daniela. Instead of me decorating a nursery or choosing cots, I spent the last 7 weeks of my pregnancy in hospital on oxygen. Daniela was born 2 months premature and spent 3 weeks in ICU. It was probably one of the toughest times of my life, Skalk's life, and baby Daniela's life. Yet, I would do it again in a heartbeat. 9 years later, tragedy struck our family. And my incredible brother Mark was killed in a power paragliding accident. He was 36 years old, and I have missed him every single day since then. He lived in Joburg and would fly down regularly. Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, any special occasion, he would be here. If I was in hospital or sick, he'd send me regular WhatsApps. Tanya, are you listening to the doctors? Are you doing what they have told you to do? He knew I could be very stubborn if I wanted to be. And sometimes it even surprised me with a visit. I'd be lying, minding my own business in my ward, in my bed, and there all of a sudden he'd just appear at the door on a Friday afternoon and then leave again on a Sunday. He loved Daniela. Oh my word, he would do anything for my daughter. She was like a daughter to him. And boy, did he spoil her. He really did. I got the phone call on a Sunday afternoon, round about 5 o'clock, 2nd of July, 2017. His friend told me that Mark had been in an accident. I didn't quite understand what he meant by an accident. I said, "Is Marky okay? Is the car okay? Are there any passengers that are hurt?" He said to me, "Tanya, you don't understand. Your brother has been involved in a power paragliding accident." My brother had gone flying that afternoon with a whole lot of his friends. Now, these incredible group of friends he met when he started his flying license, which took a year and a half. So he knew what he was doing in the air. I was told that some of them went up flying, some were late. As they arrived, they would go up and fly. And then somebody saw that Moki was struggling, and they radioed him. And he radioed back and said, "I've got this under control, guys." Pulling at this string, pulling at that string, and all of a sudden, communication was lost. And he spiraled out of control and hit the ground. His frame had snapped. So it doesn't matter what he was doing up there. He couldn't have helped it. Our family has experienced the sadness, yet the miracle that comes along with being an organ donor. What keeps me going is the knowledge that just by donating tissue, Mark was able to help up to 26 other people's lives. Unfortunately, the way he fell, he was not able to give any solid organs. Miracle number 3 was a double-edged sword. At this stage, I was under the care of Dr. Johan Tron at Panorama. He started seeing my lung functions dropping. And again, I was more in hospital than at home. And I had a little girl to look after, and my hubby. I had a family. He called Skalk and myself aside and said, "Had we ever thought of a double lung transplant? Had we? No." He told us about the unit being started at Hertzki. He got me an appointment, beginning of August, something I'll never be able to share with my brother. Johan has supported us through everything, and he still contacts me today. I was put on the transplant list in November 2017. I was the first double lung transplant recipient in a state hospital in Africa, Hertzki. The call came through. Prof. Greg Calagara said, "Tanya, we have lungs for you. Are you ready?" Would I ever be ready? I looked at Skalk and said, "Baba, this is it." And what was so amazing about this phone call was it was also on a Sunday, 5 o'clock, the same time and day that I received the news about my brother's death. How's that for coincidence? I then knew that my guardian angel would be watching over me. I was told I had 2 hours to pack and get to the hospital. My donor was on a ventilator, so I would only be operated on the next morning, Monday morning. The hardest thing for me and for Skalk was telling our little girl, Daniela, age 9 at the time, that they'd found Mommy new lungs. She looked at me and said, "Mommy, are you going to die?" And I knelt down and I looked at her and I said, "Daniela, just like your Uncle Mark is and always will be in your heart, so will I." You see, I had a 50% chance of surviving, and they make it very clear to you the day that you go and see them. I only had a 14% lung capacity. What choice did I have? But I most certainly was not going to lie to my little girl and tell her everything was going to be fine. I just had to believe that my father would be with me. The next phone call that I had to make was also a tough one. I had to let my parents know. They were never really happy about the double lung transplant, especially with my mom being a nursing sister. She knew the complications that came along with it. I phoned them and said that they needed to come to the home and we needed to get to the hospital together. We arrived 7 o'clock that night at Hertzki, and the doctors were there waiting. They were amazing. They took us aside and explained everything to us in detail. They took Daniela aside and explained exactly what they were going to do to her mommy. They answered all the questions that my mom, my dad, or my hubby had. Skalk's mom, at that time, was packing her bags to head to Cape Town as they stay in Mossel Bay. The very next morning, I was wheeled into theatre at about 7 a.m. I don't want to lie to you, but I think I saw my family for about 10 minutes before going into theatre. As I was wheeled away, the tears poured down my face. Was I going to see my family again? I didn't even know that. My family sat, including Skalk's mom, in the Hertzki coffee shop from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Daniela would not leave their side. Daniela would not leave Skalk's side. They entertained her all day. My doctor was amazing. He knew how much Daniela wanted to see me. Although everybody had warned her how terrible I would look. I was ventilated, I had pipes coming out everywhere. She didn't care. Prof. Calogaro came and updated my family every hour. Once my old lungs had been removed, once the new lung had been inserted, once the other lung had been inserted, and once the heart had been connected to the lungs. He kept his promise and got Daniela to see me. He made my family stand in the passage as I was being wheeled into ICU so that they could get a glimpse of me. Daniela looked at Skalk and said, "Daddy, Mommy doesn't look so great, but she's alive. We can go home now." I woke up 4 days later, being a Thursday, and there are a few things that I can remember. Looking around, seeing the machinery, I smiled. I then realized I was alive, and I immediately thanked our Lord above. I had this rochel for how many years? Had it disappeared? I breathed, and it was silent. For the first time in years, I felt normal. Nobody would ever be able to tease me again. And then Daniela walking in and holding my hand and saying, "Mommy, I missed your blue eyes." The pain after such an operation, I cannot even begin to describe to you that pain. They call it a clamshell incision. They cut you from under your one arm right through to your other arm, and they break your sternum. They lift you up like a bonnet, and they work inside the small area. They take your lungs out, and then they insert one lung at a time and attach the heart to the lungs. They put you on an ECMO machine. Now, an ECMO machine does the work of your heart and your lungs. They put this pipe through your neck, in your largest vein, and they pump all of your blood out into this machine, which keeps you alive. So you're basically a corpse lying there. I couldn't move my arms for 7 days after the operation. I couldn't even hold a toothbrush. I could do absolutely nothing. It's one of the biggest operations out there at the moment. They get you up and moving about ASAP. I woke up the Thursday morning. I had lost so much weight from just lying there that they put a feeding tube down from my nose to my stomach. I just remember gagging the whole time and feeling the pain, trying to hold my chest, crying. And then they got me sitting in a chair. My doctor came around a few hours later and said, "Tans, we need you to start walking." And I looked at this doctor and I thought he was absolutely mad. I had just literally woken up. I had a feeding tube put down that morning. I was sitting in a chair and now he wanted me to walk. True to his word, that physio was standing there that afternoon. With her walker, she ever so gently moved me off the bed, held me, putting my 2 hands on each arm of the walker. And all she said to me was, Tanya, all you have to do is walk from this bed to that door. And I looked at it and I thought, the distance isn't that bad. I can do this. It took me a very long time to get to that door. But when I got to that door, visiting hours had started, and my parents were standing there watching, tears pouring down their face. They'd seen me that morning, just lying there. I was awake. But here I was standing right in front of them talking. I wasn't talking Thursday morning. What a miracle. So the reason why they get you up and walking as soon as what they do is because your lungs are the only open organ. Your liver, your heart, your kidneys are all closed organs. So the minute you start breathing on your own, you are breathing in germs. You cannot afford to get an infection. You cannot afford to get pneumonia. So they have to get you moving about as soon as possible. I had to breathe again. Well, I had to learn to breathe again. For 38 years, I've been breathing from my upper respiratory area. Now all of a sudden I had to breathe from my diaphragm. I really battled with this one. I remember looking at Skalk and saying, how do you people breathe like this? Prof. Calagaro kept telling me while I was in ICU, Tanya, enjoy your honeymoon phase. I never understood that until I got home. The first 6 months were really a tough 6 months. I suffered a heart flutter, a fungal infection known as aspergillosis, a clot in my left lung, and rejection. Now, rejection is something that you as a transplant recipient never want to hear. And the only way that they're going to find out if you have rejection is by doing lung functions on a regular basis at home. And once you start seeing that your lung functions have dropped, you contact the doctor and they immediately do a biopsy. The medication was also something I had to get used to. You take 25 meds in the morning and 25 meds at night. I don't want to lie to you, but I think I vomited for about a week and a half trying to get used to this medication. I had a tingling sensation around my lips. My teeth were so sensitive, especially my front teeth. I had this metallic taste in my mouth constantly. I lost my hair in patches. I couldn't face tea, coffee, or chocolates, my favorite. I had the shakes. They call it the TAC shakes. Tacrolimus is one of your immune suppressants that you have to have. And I looked like a chipmunk from all the cortisone. Today, my medication is far less. I take about 19, 20 pills in the morning and about 8 or 9 at night. You have bloods done every 3 to 4 weeks, depending on what your levels look like. This they do for your TAC, your immune suppressant medication. If your levels are too low, you can go into rejection. And if your levels are too high, you can go into toxicity. The care I received at Hertzki was out of this world. I was wowed from the minute I walked in until I left. I can't sing their praises enough. I have so much love, respect, and gratitude for this hospital. There are really not enough words. The professors, the doctors, the sisters, the nurses, and the staff are amazing. It's not a job to them. It's so much more. They are kind. They are compassionate. They are like Energizer bunnies 24/7, up and down those halls, those passages all the time. I felt like part of the family. The day I was told that I had to be put into a normal ward and taken out of ICU, I actually cried because these people had helped me. I have my professor's number on WhatsApp and I can contact him at any time. Professor Greg Calagaro and Dr. Tim Pennell went to Austria and Sydney for 2 years and were taught how to do transplants. They decided to come back to South Africa and opened up the unit at Hertzki. They are saving us. They are our heroes. I have my little family, my family, because of these doctors. I can't thank my organ donor enough. I am standing here today because of this amazing woman. She gave me the best gift ever. She gave me life. She is my hero. All I know is that she's a woman and she died and was on a ventilator. That's all I know. We are not allowed to know anything more. After a year, you are allowed to write a letter of thanks to the family. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. How do I say thank you for losing a loved one that I may live? And the only reason I could do this is because of my brother. I know that he was able to help 26 people's lives just by donating tissue. I exercise, I live life, and I enjoy every moment with my beautiful family. And I do this in honor of my hero, my organ donor. Those little things that people take for granted, I cherish. Just walking to the shops with Daniela or watching hockey with her. So what am I doing today? I'm trying to give back. How am I doing this? I'm doing this in 2 ways. I'm trying to create awareness around organ and tissue donation. By just donating your organs, you're able to save up to 7 people's lives. And by just donating tissue, you are able to help up to 50 people's lives. For those of you that don't know what tissue involves, it's skin, cornea, bones, tendons, heart valves. I implore you to register as an organ donor and be the hero in another family's life. You don't even necessarily even have to register. Just tell a loved one, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that's going to make that final call. Number 2, I'm raising funds for Hertzki lung transplant unit. Everybody needs a support group. Before you get listed, you have to go and see a psychologist or a social worker. In my case, being in a state hospital, I went to go see a social worker. And the first thing he asked me was, what was your support group like at home? What is your support group like at home? It's the biggest operation, and you're going to need every bit of motivation to help you fight. The operation is easy enough. Well, not easy, but it's easier. But it's the battle afterwards that's going to get you through. When I woke up in ICU and I saw Daniela, I knew I had to fight. Looking into those beautiful brown eyes, holding those little hands, and hearing that innocent little voice. When I saw my mom and dad, and they had only lost their son 5 months prior, I knew I needed to fight for them. There was no ways I was going to let them down. And lastly, when I saw my hubby and his mom looking down at me with so much love in their eyes, I knew I needed to fight. So if I can get a family member down to be with a loved one while they are fighting for their life in ICU, then I've done my part. An extra bonus would be if I can get accommodation or food for these family members. And how awesome would it be if I can get the unit to be a bigger unit, that more people's lives can be saved, that more pulmonologists, that more surgeons, that more machinery and physios can be bought, because this is what they need. Not being able to breathe is one of the worst feelings ever. I'm breathing because of these amazing people at Hertzki. So if I can help them, why not? I thank God every day for everything that I have. Life is all about tests and trials. Trials make you a better person, a stronger person, a kinder person. Embrace each and every breath that you take. Do not die before your death. Celebrate your life. Live your life fully. I'd like to share a very special quote with you by Nick Vujicic. If you can't get a miracle, then be a miracle. Thank you.
Bravo! Well done, Tanya. Amazing. I'll have you know, you made me cry.
That was absolutely beautiful. Just echoing Terry's words, and all of you, feel free to unmute yourselves just so that we can have a really nice informal chat and thank Tanya. That was just amazing. A really, really inspiring story. I mean, really, I think it takes an incredibly special human being to be able to, it's interesting. You just, I was going to say, I was just about to, it made me think of the words brave, courageous, and vulnerable, and to be vulnerable takes a lot of courage. And it's really interesting. I literally wrote those words this week when I did I do a theme every week when I teach my yoga, and
Yes.
it was about, exposing your heart takes a lot of bravery and courage, and vulnerability requires that courage. And you just really share your humanness with us, and this is exactly what I've tried to create in this forum, where we know we are part of community, and it's through sharing our stories that gives us the courage to just do something that's a little bit out of our comfort zone, or reminds us to celebrate life. And it's not doing the big things, necessarily. It's actually embracing and celebrating and seeing the beauty in the small things. Well, starting with that first. So thank you again so much. So I'd love to open it up, and anybody who has Paul's phone, that's lovely. You put on your video, and it's so nice to see your face. And I'm seeing a lot of comments, beautiful comments on the chat. Lisa, a truly brave story. Thank you and bless you. Dominic as well. Bless your family. Dominic sent one, beautiful. Kerry, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for reminding us about organ donating. Absolutely. So if anyone would like to personally just have a little comment or any questions to Tanya, that'd be so nice. Is there anybody in the house that just want to share anything, any thoughts, having heard the story? Everyone is so riveted. They're quite happy for you to just keep on talking. And Kevin just sent a lovely message. Thank you, Kevin. Tanya, you're an inspiration. Keep it up. Maybe said people organ donate forms. Oh, to sign up as organ donors. That's
Yeah.
a very good idea.
I can also, you can go onto the website, just Google organ donation, and you'll get their link, and it takes literally 2 seconds. And you can just sign up there as well. Thank you so much, Kevin.
You can put that in the chat as well.
Okay, cool. I'll do that.
And then what I'll do is in the morning, all the details, any of your details or any details, or, to get people to
Okay.
just be aware of it, I send a little WhatsApp. So any information you want to send me, then I pass it on to the group tomorrow morning.
Okay. I'll do that.
And
maybe just a thought. I know you want to raise funding to start a bigger award, and that maybe have you tried crowdfunding? You know, BackaBuddy and GoFundMe are good ones.
I have. I actually did that when I went to go sail for a group of kids. I was actually with Greg Burtish. We did that before COVID, and we raised quite a bit of money for the transplant unit. So that was really cool. Thanks, Kevin.
Well done.
Thank you.
And I'm sure, you know, going through an experience like this, which is, you know, the average person, we never know what life's going to present to us, but you know, it certainly must have really given you a different perspective of how you view things now, Tanya, and how you deal with, you know, just I love that you such a good reminder of how important it is to just appreciate the small finer details, the beauty of the small simple things.
No, absolutely. I mean, materialistic things mean nothing. I think time with your family and loved ones is everything, actually. And if you've got health, I think that's the greatest gift ever.
Absolutely. I mean, seeing we're in this physical form, we really do want to be able to appreciate life with as much vibrancy, energy, and life as possible. So,
absolutely. No, totally.
And I see this hand raised. Layli wants to ask a question. Lovely, please, Layli.
I don't want to raise a question. I just want to say to Tanya, I know your mum, Judy.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I have met your daughter as well at your mum's house.
Okay.
Lovely girl. And yes, I can just vouch for the love in that family and what you've been through with Mark. But very glad that I came across this invitation to join tonight. And all the best with your journey.
Thank you very much.
Yes, lovely, heartfelt appreciation and your joy and your thankfulness to God for it is just heartwarming. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Really, thank you for sharing that. And Terry.
So I want to say that so many people talk about gratitude, and Tanya is one person who absolutely lives it. I speak to her on the phone or we WhatsApp from time to time, and every single time I do that, her gratefulness and her love of life comes through, and every single time it's a reminder to me, like, stop complaining and just love what you're doing. So personally, I find her very, very inspiring, and she lives what she says. I've got so many friends who go, oh, I write 100 gratitude things a day, but it doesn't come across in their attitude or the way they approach life. But Tanya's does. And yeah, lovely lady, lovely Tanya. I loved your speech.
Thank you, Terry. And you know, Terry, you're right. I mean, Tanya, I haven't met you in real life, but you really do just exude so much enthusiasm of life. And you know, whether you get to know Tanya for 5 minutes or I think 5 years, it's immediate. You know, all your messages are so kind, so full of, I can feel literally the life force that comes through it. You know, there's a beautiful thing in yoga. One of the modalities of yoga is not just the physical movement. A very, very important part of it is pranayama, which is, you know, we translate it loosely and say breathing exercises, but it's a lot more than that. Prana means life force, and it's learning how to use it effectively, efficiently, and really importantly, celebrate and respect the fact that we have this life force within us. And you know, that translates to the same thing as you said, you know, like, live your life while you're alive. You know, don't allow the body to, or the mind to die before your time. And it's appreciating that life force that life force, the prana actually rides on the oxygen line.
Sure.
It surfs on it. And it can only do that effectively when you're aware of your breathing in and out, your awareness of your life force, and going through an experience like you have every day, you are aware of it. And so what you do is you remind us to be aware of that and appreciate that as well. Because it's easy in this day and age, we get so busy and and it's quite easy when you're freaked out or stressed, we tend to hold our breath, and we're also holding in our life force.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Thank you, Elaine.
a beautiful reminder. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Tanya ever thanks you, she writes at the bottom there, thank you from the bottom of my lungs.
I love it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Anybody else in the house that would like to just share anything or make a comment after tonight? Can I give you a moment? Everyone seems just so happy to have heard it. I can see that those of you who have your video on just comfortably sitting there like, as a little bit sort of blissed and at the same time humbled by your story. So I just want to extend a heartfelt big thank you for joining Conversations, Tanya. I just love your story. I'm so happy that Terry introduced us virtually. It's pretty amazing to be able to be sitting and, I can see you I'm still amazed by technology, Years ago it would have been, or for me, to be quite honest, BC, it would have been a phone call or a WhatsApp. Now I actually can see a video, chat to you in real time in your home while I'm in my kitchen. So feel free to just come and visit my kitchen anytime. Just thank you. I feel hugely inspired, as I know I can speak for all of us. I see Kevin quickly has his hand raised. Go ahead, Kev. You have to unmute yourself so we hear you.
What about a book? You need to write a story. I can give you a very good ghostwriter. Toby Schenker is the best ghostwriter who will help you put it together in a nice format and publish your story.
Do you think it's publishable?
Without a doubt. Definitely. Toby will help you with what needs to be in and out, and she's the best.
Okay.
Elaine knows Toby as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
And Tanya, you can illustrate it with your paintings.
Yes, I can.
And you can, and I can give you somebody who will print it at much cheaper than anywhere else.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you, Kevin. I really do appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Kev. That's amazing. So, that's a nice little nugget of information Terry just shared. So you're an artist as well.
I tried playing Terry. She's giving away my secrets here.
No secrets. What is that quote that Marianne Williamson says? Don't squander your gifts. They are not yours.
Very true. Very true.
Don't be small and don't squander your gifts. They're there to share. So
I will share my painting with you tomorrow.
Oh, I'd love that. Please do. I love that. So, gorgeous. So thank you so much. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, all of you, for coming tonight. That was a very, very special story, and just keep on sharing and spread the word about Conversations, because this is the place for us to feel like we're part of a community where we can inspire each other and just get healthier in body, mind, and soul. So
amen to that.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you very much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Lots of love. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks.